Static comes when you're between something. You're between the stations on a radio, and when you turn that dial and you're off the station, you get this noise. That's the static. And I think that reflects, for me, the idea of where we are as a kind of world culture. We're kind of in between things, you know. We're unsure about what's going to come in the future. We have no clue from the past of how to deal with the future. We're in this sort of funny liminal state in between something that we quite can't imagine and a past that we're trying to hold on to but is slipping away. I first read James Baldwin in college in an American literature course. And James Baldwin's quite famous for his novels, but I was really drawn to his essays, particularly the essay Stranger in the Village, which was written in 1953 when James Baldwin, who's an African-American author, was living in a small Swiss village up in the mountains. And he says for many of the villagers, he's the first Black person they'd ever encountered. And thinking about that essay for many, many years before I even thought to make paintings out of it, I was thinking about the idea of being a stranger somewhere, of being foreign, being exotic, being disconnected to the culture in which you find yourself. I felt if I was going to use the essay that I should use a material that had the density, the weight of James Baldwin's words in the essay. So that's how I came upon the idea of using oil stick to make the letters and then put coal dust on top of the oil stick. Coal dust is a leftover from coal mining. It's a waste product. It looks like black, shiny gravel. It's more about the experience of this object, this very dense object with text in it that's very hard to read, even if you speak and read English. And it's about the struggle, the idea of the struggle to read that text, which mirrors, I think, for me, the difficulty, the density of what Baldwin was trying to do in the essay itself, trying to explain very big issues like racism and race relations and colonialism. Very difficult, hard topics to explain in an essay, and very difficult, hard topics to understand from a painting as well. I figure out what the paintings are as I'm making them, rather than I have a set idea of what I want to do and I just execute it on the canvas. And so I'm responding to whatever I put on the canvas as I'm making the work. So I don't know when I start what it's going to end up being. I think you can see that kind of most clearly in the drawings, which are rubbings on top of a single stranger painting. I lay it flat on the table, I put rice paper on top of it, and I do a rubbing on the text of the painting. It took me a couple of months, maybe years even, to figure out how I could make rubbings based on my paintings. Kozo paper was interesting because it is very thin but very strong, so it allows me to rub hard. There are actually holes in the paper where I rub too hard, but I actually use the holes as compositional device. It also shows you the process of making it too, which is important to me in these drawings. Traditionally, when you make a painting, you put a white gesso ground down, and then you paint on top of that. Because I've used Baldwin's essay for so long in so many different kinds of ways in my work, that in some ways Baldwin's essay itself is the ground on which I'm making paintings. The language itself is the ground. When I'm making paintings now, Baldwin is where I start, and then the painting gets built on top of that. We're in a world now, at least in the US context, people can say there are facts and there are alternative facts. And both things can be true. A fact and its opposite are both considered facts. So that means that language is unstable, meaning is unstable. It's hard to be certain the space in which I'm thinking about making paintings now, where language's ability to convey facts, to convey meaning, certainty, to order the world, as Baldwin would have said, language is used to describe and order the world, has broken down a bit, and that's the space I'm exploring in the work.